feels like the worst time of day to film a video because the sun is so direct and I'm burning up, and but I don't know. This is the time I've got, so whew. Hello friends, my name is Katie, this is Life Between Words. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. Stick around. Today I'm talking about my own personal TBR for middle grade March. I usually like to read for the prompts for middle grade March because there's always books that I'm so excited about that fit the challenges. I have such a big pile here and I never get to my entire TBR. In reality, this is probably more a pile of possibilities than it is a strict TBR, because I just, knowing me and knowing how much I usually read, especially my current reading life, this is very ambitious. You know what? Miracles happen, and maybe this will be the year that I finish all of these books. I'm not holding out hope, but you never know. All right, first, for the prompt, or for the challenge of reading a book that has won an award that is not a Newbery, highest on my list is the first in a trilogy called Seeds of America. This is by Laurie Hall Sanderson. The first book in the trilogy is Chains. I've owned the entire trilogy for a very long time and haven't read it. And Amanda from the Curly Reader reminded me that this book won the Scott Odell Award and the National Book Award finalist. And the reason that she reminded me is because I am currently in the midst of an obsession with the Revolutionary War. And she was like, Katie, for middle grade March, you should pick up Chains. And I was like, oh, that's an amazing idea. This takes place during the Revolutionary War. Did I even need to say that? And it follows two sisters who are enslaved. They were promised their freedom when their slave owners died, but in a cruel twist of fate, they end up with a couple living in New York City who enslave them all over again. This couple that they are with are loyalists. They are loyal to the crown, so they are not fighting on behalf of the rebels or the patriots, as they were called. This couple are loyalists. Somehow these two sisters end up being convinced to spy for the rebels. Very excited. Sounds so right up my alley. You want some gummies? I can do that for you, but the payment is a kiss. There you go. Next is another Scott Odell Award. The Scott Odell Award is for historical fiction, I'm pretty sure. This one is called Beyond the Bright Sea by Lauren Wolk. I own several Lauren Wolk books. I've heard amazing things about them, and I've never once read one of her books. So it fulfills an award winner other than Newbery. It also has a sky and a sea on the cover. So this one might be one that I lean towards just because it fits more than one challenge. This is about a girl, 12-year-old Crow, who was set adrift in a boat when she was a tiny baby and is found and then raised by a man called Osh. Very unusual names in this book. And somehow the main character, Crow, decides to try and figure out her true history, like where she came from, who she is, who her parents were, etc. So there's this whole unraveling sort of self-discovery mystery about who she is. So I'm really excited to read this one. Next prompt is science fiction, sci-fi, dystopian, any of the sub-genres within science fiction. And I have two options for this. Well, one of them is a for sure book, but the other option that I would like to read is Orion Lost by Alistair Chisholm. This is an English book. The publisher is Nosy Crow. Reminds me a little bit of Alice Nest, and I love that. The cutest little publishing house symbol on here. Anyway, Orion Lost. This is a true sci-fi. These kids are on a spaceship. Their spaceship is lost in deep space. So these kids are somehow being forced to find their way home. And there's aliens and artificial intelligence. It's very sci-fi, but I've heard great things. Amanda again has read this book and highly recommends it, so I'm really excited to read Orion Lost. Then we have our group pick, which fulfills the sci-fi prompt, so this will be priority for me, and that's a Rover story. This is about a space rover on Mars named Rez, who I think becomes sentient. Mars is a dangerous place, and Rez is communicating, I'm pretty sure, with a kid back on Earth, probably more than just the kid. But people all over the world are following his progress. It's sort of a survival story, but like an artificial intelligence survival story. It sounds so sweet. I've heard amazing things, and I trust Jasmine Warga because I've read some other books by her. The next challenge is to read a book with a neurodivergent character. So I have, again, all of these, I have 2 options for me because I like choice. The first option is one that has been on my bookshelf once again ever since I heard Amanda from the Curly Reader talk about it. If you can't tell, I really trust Amanda's middle grade recommendations. This is called A Kind of Spark by Elle McNichol, and it follows a girl who is autistic. It's a contemporary novel, so I'm sure it's dealing with directly with her autism. She's learning about the witch trials. She somehow sees herself in the people being persecuted during the witch trials because they were being persecuted for being different, and she is autistic and also different. So that's an option. And then the other one that I actually think maybe I'm leaning toward, mostly I think because it sounds like it's a lot of fun on top of it featuring a neurodivergent character. So this one is called A Perfect Mistake, and it's about a boy and his group of friends, and one night one of his friends, they're led into the woods by a group of older boys, and one of their friends gets gravely injured and is in a coma. Max can't remember what happened on that fateful night, and it sort of comes down to him to remember and figure it out. On top of this situation, or wrapped up in this situation, is the fact that he was recently diagnosed with ADHD. I don't know how recently, I could be kind of mistaken on that, but he has ADHD, and I think that his ADHD, like I think with a lot of neurodiversity, is both a blessing and a curse. The reason that I'm drawn to this book is that I am about 95% certain, more than 95% certain, I would be a monkey's uncle if I do not have ADHD. I was not diagnosed as a kid, and as I grow older, I am learning that that is not uncommon, especially among now adult women, to have not been diagnosed when they were young. And I learned to cope as a kid. I don't think I would have needed medication or anything. I'm not even sure what I think about ADHD medication. I am going to get screened for it this summer because it has been affecting my life, probably in some negative ways, even when there are positives about it. So I'm really drawn to this book because there's a character with ADHD in it, and now there are 2 different, okay, I'm getting way down into the weeds now, but I don't know what type of ADHD he has, whether it is, you know, hyperactive or inattentive. I think I have inattentive type, and also it presents itself differently in children and adults and all those different dynamics. But the fact that he has ADHD, I find really interesting. I've never read a book that features a kid with ADHD, or even that presents some of the characteristics of ADHD, except for maybe Anne of Green Gables. I would suspect, you know, not being able to diagnose Anne. She does have some symptoms of ADHD. So anyway, A Perfect Mistake, I'm really looking forward to this one. The next group of books I have that I'd like to read fit the challenge of a sky or a sea on the cover. We have already seen many books in this pile that could fit this prompt, but in case I need an extra book to fit this prompt specifically, there is Otter by Catherine Applegate. This reminds me very much of The One and Only Ivan by Catherine Applegate that I have read and just absolutely adored. That one follows a gorilla. This one follows an otter along the California coast, I'm pretty sure. And like The One and Only Ivan, this follows a true story. So obviously it's fictionalized, but the events are based on fact. I also think that this one might be written in verse. It is. This one's written in verse, so I could probably get through this one in a jiff. The next book has a beautiful sky on the cover. Amanda read this one last year and just loved it and has been raving about it ever since and has told me that I would love it. I knew it was one that I had to pick up, and because it fits this prompt, I'm really, really, really eager to get to it. It's a World War II historical fiction novel that follows a group of, I think, 3 friends. Yes, 3 friends, and their names are Leo, Elsa, and Max. And the course of events in their lives throughout World War II. The war tests their friendships in many ways. Will they remain friends? What happens to them? What do their lives look like throughout the war? And I just can't get over how beautiful this cover is. Just love, love, love the cover. We are moving on to books written within the last year. These are the 2 books that I'd really like to get to and through. The first one also has a really beautiful cover that also has a sky on it, and I can't really tell if this is a lake or maybe like an inlet on the ocean, but there is water on it. It's called Yonder by Ali Standish. This is also a World War II historical fiction novel, but whereas When the World Was Ours takes place in Europe, this one stays in the United States. So you're getting a different perspective. You're getting a perspective that isn't necessarily solely focused on the war itself, although certainly the United States felt the effects of the war, right? And I do think that this book deals with that. It follows our main character, Danny Timmons, whose father is away fighting in World War II. And there's something, he lives in Appalachia. Danny's friend Jack's father is abusive. And I know that it explores themes like, what do we do when we're confronted with something that we need to stand up to and stand up against? How do we stop injustice when we see it happening? And that's how it relates to World War II as well, because Danny is also learning about World War II and why people are fighting in World War II. What is it all about? And once again, just really, really beautiful cover. So, and this is also one I haven't ever heard anyone else talk to in any of the circles that I'm a part of, so I'm really, really eager to get to this one. And last but not least is a really chunky historical fiction novel called The Patron Thief of Bread. This is by Lindsay Eager. This takes place, I'm pretty sure, in the Middle Ages. It follows an orphan named Duck. She runs around with like a street gang of other orphan kids who get into a lot of trouble. And somehow she finds herself impostoring as an apprentice to a baker in town. But over the course of time, she realizes that this is something that she really loves. And she might have to go against the wishes of this little street gang that she's a part of called the Crowns. And then it also follows a gargoyle. On top of this cathedral, there sits a gargoyle who is getting impatient about fulfilling its destiny. There's something about this book that gives me serious Sweep vibes, and Sweep is one of my favorite middle grade novels. So even though this is really chunky, I really, really, really want to read this during middle grade March. So we'll just have to see how much I get through. These are all of the books that I want to read. How many are there? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That is never going to happen. I feel like I'm not being fair to myself on the one hand by saying that I can't do it, but like it would be a serious accomplishment because I have a lot of other stuff going on in my life. But we'll see, because I am excited about all of these books and I'd love to get to them all. So let me know if any of these books sound good to you, if maybe you would like to now, once you've heard about them, add them to your TBR, or if you're not reading them and are reading something else for middle grade March, I'd love to hear it in the comments. Please comment below, like, subscribe, all of that stuff, and I will see you soon in another video. Bye, friends. You can eat pizza, but it needs to cool off, so you're gonna need to wait.
You can eat 2 snacks.
You can have one, this is the last one.
We only have 2 snacks.
Yeah, there you go.
That's 3 snacks. That will make you sick. That's 3 snacks.
Not 3, just 2.
You're just gonna hurt your tummy if you eat 4.
That's right.